Hello, this is the 6th talk in the series of lectures on the central nervous system, the periphery nervous system, and the waters they live in. And in this talk we're looking at the ventricles and the production of the waters for the ventricles and the choroid plexus. So the anatomy pictures for this are available on my website, and it's good to view them there because there'll be a better representation than on the video. Okay, we shall start. So here we have the central nervous system, the cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem, spinal cord, surrounded in cranial fluid, water, then ventricles of water, around the thalamus, within the thalamus, through the brainstem, down the spinal cord. And these are the ventricles in the lower part of the cranium. These are caves within the central nervous system. These are the lateral ventricles. There's 2 of those, and they drop into the 3rd ventricle, which drops into the 4th ventricle, which carries on down the whole length of the spine. And here we have them in their entirety. 2 lateral ventricles, the 3rd ventricle, 4th ventricle, carrying on down through the spine. And from the side, the face will be here, the cerebrum here, the lateral ventricles, 3rd ventricle, 4th ventricle, and then dropping down the spinal cord in the center. The spinal cord. These ventricles have a skin all the way round. All of the ventricles are encased, completely encased in a skin. Everywhere they have a skin. And this skin is called ependymal cells. Here we have the ependymal cells, called cuboidal ependymal cells, because they're little squares. These blue, larger blue circles, these are the separate nuclei, and then they're joined together as cubes. And here we have a cross section. You can see the joins. You see they're square. So the whole lining of these caves, the skin of the ventricles, is lined with these cuboidal ependymal cells, and within the skin of the whole ventricles, these are completely pervious. Water, minerals, glucose, oxygen, carbon dioxide, toxins, whatever is there can flow in, can flow out. Very loose connecting cells. And the waters of the central nervous system can flow in and out through the skin of the ventricles, the cuboidal ependymal cells. Now we have the choroid plexus, which filter waters into the ventricles, and we have one here at the top. One here at the top of the third ventricle, and then two at the base of the two lateral ventricles, then one here at the back of the fourth ventricle. This goes in a diamond shape, so this is quite spread out sideways. It's quite a big area, this choroid plexus here. So the choroid plexus is also made of ependymal cells. It's continuous, the whole skin of the ventricles all the way around is ependymal cells, and then this flows into the choroid plexus. It's the same skin, it's continuous. But there's a big difference when within the skin or the ventricles is permeable. Water, nutriments, things in solution can flow in and out through the walls of the ventricles. But come to the choroid plexus, all of the cells come together much more tightly, and they're joined by tiny connectors. And you probably won't be able to see it in this, but if you look at the picture on my website, you can see lots of little blue dots between these squares, and they are the connectors that are holding these cells together. And the gaps between these cells then become the same size as these connectors, and it makes what's called a tight junction. It's a very fine junction, and then things change because it is so fine that only water can travel through these fine junctions. No glucose, no oxygen, no carbon dioxide, no anything other than water, which will freely flow in and out. Water flows through everything. So it makes a filter that only water will move in and out of. And we've seen this once before. We've seen these close connectors in the second lecture, where we looked at the filter that produced all of the waters and glucose and oxygen for the whole body of the central nervous system, the endothelial cells that make the skin of the capillaries. And here we have those same connectors and those same tight junctions, and only water can come through those gaps. Makes a filter that only water comes through. And water will also travel through the cells, and also nutriments will get safe passage out through the cells. The oxygen come out, glucose come out, sodium, minerals. The cells select those things and allow them to travel through the cell wall, through the intercellular fluid, then out through the outer cell wall and out into this environment, creating an environment through the whole central nervous system, 99% water, oxygen, glucose and minerals. It creates the environment. So here we have the very same filter, but with different cells. It has these little connections with very fine gaps that only water will come through. And then these cells are selective, and they will give passage to oxygen, glucose, minerals, sodium. They will come to the inner face of these cells, doors will open, they will flow through with the water into the cell, then taxis will be provided and they'll travel through the cell in these taxis. They'll come to the inner skin where it's facing into the ventricles, doors, they'll come through the doors, the taxis will let them out, and off they go. We have this environment. Water, 99% water, glucose, oxygen, minerals. It's the same environment for the body of the central nervous system. With one big difference: within the central nervous system there's all of these cells, just full of all the different cells, and as this water and nutrients come out, this is food and breath for the cells, and they eat the glucose, breathe the oxygen, drink the water, and then they eliminate, they let the water out, the glucose and oxygen come together, this produces carbon dioxide, and they release carbon dioxide and different toxins. So within the central nervous system, this food and breath and water is being used. Within the ventricles, they are caves. There's nothing in there. It's just the water in these caves. There's nothing to eat, drink, and breathe the fluid. So it stays prime. So what happens is we have this skin, ependymal cells, round all of the ventricles, holding this fluid, fully permeable cells. And then it comes into the choroid plexus, they come tight together, they have tight junctions, and they create a fine gauge selective filter. And what happens is there are capillaries coming in together, venous capillaries, arterial capillaries, and the ependymal cells wrap around the capillaries. So here we have some capillaries coming in, here we have the ependymal cells, and they will continue around the bottom as well. So the capillaries are completely surrounded. Where they come in a mass of capillaries, the ependymal cells completely create a seal around them. They make a bag around all of these capillaries, and they make loads of different folds, and this increases the whole surface area. So there's a much larger surface area than if it was just flat. Increases the whole surface area. So there's this bag of many folds, and within it we have the arterial capillaries and we have the venous capillaries. The arterial capillaries will give off water, nutriments, oxygen into the inside of this bag. It's all contained in this bag. We'll fill up this bag with water, nutriments and oxygen. It is different to the capillaries in the rest of the central nervous system. They don't have a filter around them. So it's the same as the capillaries in the body. So they won't just release oxygen glucose and minerals. They will release proteins, lipids, and all the different things that come out of the blood to feed the body within the body. They will come out inside this bag, and you don't want a lot of those things to come into the central nervous system, because it's a very precious, refined environment. So you don't want these proteins, you don't want the lipids. You know, that there'll also be viruses, pathogens, all different things. So this bag around it is completely sealed. This bag of many folds, the choroid plexus, is completely sealed around all of these capillaries, and then it produces this soup of nutriments and oxygen and water. And here we have the ependymal cells with their close junctions, and they will allow water to come through. Water will go through the gaps, or they won't allow it, they can't stop it. Water in the body flows through everything. Water flows through the gaps, water flows through the cells, that comes out into these caves, into this. This is the ventricles here, this is the cave, this is the blood, this is the filter, the choroid plexus. So the water comes out, fills up the cave. And then they will select oxygen, glucose, minerals, what they need from this soup, and out it comes into the ventricles. So we have this bag, and it's creating this environment. These cells are very clever. Not only are they a filter one way, water, oxygen, glucose, minerals, making this very same environment as the whole body of the central nervous system, they filter back the other way. So any carbon dioxide, any toxins coming into this environment, they come back the other way. Through the skin of this bag of many folds, the choroid plexus, thousands and thousands of little folds, increasing the whole surface area, but completely sealed, no gaps. It has to all stay inside. We can't have all of these different things spreading out into the central nervous system, the lipids, the proteins, bacteria, viruses, all of those things, and that they stay tightly sealed in this bag, complete seal, and all of it with the tight junctions. So it's a very fine and selective filter. And then it will filter back the other way, toxins, carbon dioxide. In water, it comes back, the water solution comes in. So it's a soup. It's also getting carbon dioxide coming into it, toxins, and then the arterial capillaries will be giving out all of this, coming back to the heart. Within the bag we have the venous blood capillaries, which are receiving, and from the soup they will take the carbon dioxide, they will take the toxins, they will take all of the things that aren't needed here. So it won't take oxygen, they won't receive oxygen, they won't receive the glucose, they will receive everything that isn't needed here. So the arterial capillaries bringing everything into this soup. Water goes everywhere, flows in, flows out. These cells, I have some potatoes. They can come out of the soup. We want some leeks, yeah, potatoes, leeks, mushrooms, celery, no, we don't want the celery, beetroot, no, we don't want the beetroot. So it selects what it wants out of the soup, and it wants oxygen, it wants glucose, minerals. Then breathing back the other way, carbon dioxide, toxins come back the other way. So this filter breathes. So ventricles breathe in, water, glucose, oxygen comes in to the ventricles. So ventricles breathe out, water, carbon dioxide, toxins come in, and the venous blood takes them away. So this is the ventricles are ventilating, they're breathing oxygen, glucose, minerals, water, breathing out oxygen, toxins, carbon dioxide, in the same way as we breathe. Breathing in the air, oxygen, and the breath. Breathing out carbon dioxide and the breath. We're ventilating. Ventricles are ventilating. Breathing in oxygen, glucose, minerals. Breathing out water, carbon dioxide and toxins. And then as this comes into the soup, the venous blood takes away the toxins, takes away the carbon dioxide, takes away everything that isn't needed in here, because there'll be a lot of lipids, there'll be a lot of proteins, there'll be a lot of all sorts of things that aren't needed there. The venous blood takes this back, and the whole thing sealed. This can't leak out because we have this special environment that the light shines through. It needs to be a lot of water, it needs very quick nutrition, very quick elimination. So this is breathing. And you've got the migration of the fluids. You've got the cerebrum breathing. You've got the cerebellum breathing. And you've got this fluids, the water, travelling, migrating back and out down to the nerves. And it comes in to the lateral ventricles. Well, it can go down and round the outside. It can also travel inwardly through the lateral ventricles and then down. Down. This will be carrying carbon dioxide. This will be carrying toxins. May also have oxygen and glucose in, but it will have these other things in as well. The choroid plexus breathes that out as the carbon dioxide, as the toxins come in, start circling, they're taken out by the choroid plexus. So the time on this video is coming to an end, so I'm going to make this go on and make this into 2. So just breathing, feeling the cerebrum breathing, cerebellum breathing, the brainstem breathing, the ventricles breathing. Breathing in oxygen, nutriments, water coming into the ventricles, breathing out oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide, water, toxins going back into the blood and away, breathing in oxygen, glucose, minerals, water, breathing out carbon dioxide, toxins leaving. So they breathe. So it creates its own environment. The whole ventricular system is creating its own environment. It's breathing, it's receiving the waters, it's receiving the oxygen, the glucose, and it's got that environment, and then it's maintaining that environment. It's breathing, and it's a gentle breath, it's a cellular breath, it's not the same as the lungs, it's much gentler. So there's this environment in there, like a fish tank or the sea of waters. It's gently breathing, and it's coming in and out through the choroid plexus, which is producing it and filtering out the toxins all of the time. Like, I guess in an aquarium you have a filter maintaining it. So this filter produces the water and the environment. It also cleanses the water and environment. And then within this many-folded bag of the choroid plexus, we have the blood, and this is ventilating. It's bringing oxygen and nutriments. It's taking away carbon dioxide and toxins. So the ventricles are breathing and ventilating. The choroid plexus within is breathing and ventilating, bringing oxygen, nutriments, taking away carbon dioxide and toxins back to the heart. So the whole thing is breathing and maintaining itself, and you end up with this very particular environment within the ventricles, down the spine. And then this still has all its nutriments. This becomes food for the nerves. It spreads out through the nerves. The fluid coming down and around the central nervous system. This is more like cranial lymph. This will also travel down the nerves as a fluid and water, but from within the ventricles, this is food and oxygen, and this travels out, this feeds the nerves, cranial nerves, periphery nerves, and then the water spreads out into the lymph and is taken back to the heart. It completes its journey back to the heart. So the heart sends the nutriments and oxygen to the choroid plexus, and also receives back from the choroid plexus, and then it produces more than the venous blood can take back, as we learnt in the 4th seminar. It produces more fluid than the venous blood can take back. So there's a migration of that spare fluid which comes down through the ventricles, out through the nerves as food, as oxygen, is used, and then spreads out through the nerves into the lymph back to the heart. It's all breathing, it's all ventilating